Hey, Chi Alpha family. This week in our Bible study, we're going to be talking about James chapter 4, verses 11 through 12. Don't speak evil against each other, dear brothers and sisters. If you criticize and judge each other, then you are criticizing and judging God's law. But your job is to obey the law, not to judge whether it applies to you. God alone can give the law. Who gave the law is the judge. He alone has the power to save or destroy. So what right do you have to judge your neighbor? We're going to break this down into three different sections, okay, to really understand what James is trying to get at. In the first part where he says, don't speak evil against each other, dear brothers and sisters, he's talking about judgment. He's talking about gossip. He's talking about, pretty straightforward, speaking evil of each other. But there's a few elements of this that are maybe a little harder to understand. I want you to play out a scenario with me. Maybe it's been real life for you. You move to college, get on Drake's campus, get a roommate, and your roommate is a slob. I mean, they're just a disgusting pig. It's just nasty how they keep their side of the room, all right? You go hang out with your friends and you say to your friends, hey, my roommate, they're a disgusting pig. They're gross. They're so messy and nasty, all right? Regardless of if that's true, you're speaking evil against someone. You're speaking in a negative way that is affecting how your friends view your roommate. We're not supposed to do that. But here's a little harder part to understand. I want you to play out that scenario again. Same roommate, they're still a disgusting pig, but this time you're hanging out with your friends, and instead of saying that, what you say to your friends is, man, my roommate never picks up his clothes. Man, my roommate, it kind of smells his side of the room. Man, my roommate, this, and this. And as you just start to describe your roommate, your friends start to picture a disgusting pig. Now, you didn't call him a disgusting pig or her, but that's what your friends are picturing because you're still speaking evil about your roommate, regardless of if it's true. It's not enough to just not say something mean about someone. We cannot speak negatively about someone's reputation. We cannot in a way that hinders their reputation. We should speak positive and encouraging. Now, yeah, there's some caveats to this. Sometimes you need to talk to your friend or a mentor and say, hey, my roommate is doing X, Y, and Z. How do I confront this? How do I deal with this? In an actual discipling, pastoring, counseling way, asking for your friends or leaders' help. That's okay, but I'm going to be real. How often do we pull that card? Hey, I'm talking to you because I need help, but really I just want to talk about how annoying or frustrating someone is. That's not going to fly. You may be tricking your friends. You may even be tricking yourself, but you're not tricking God. We cannot speak evil about each other. We must speak about each other in an uplifting way. We cannot be passing judgment on people, all right? Second part of what James is talking about is even more in depth than that, where he's talking about, criticize, judge each other, then you're criticizing and judging God's law. And everything he says there, we don't have time to fully break it down, but what he's talking about is pride. He's saying when you judge people, you're really putting yourself in equal footing with the law of God. Think about it. Here's God's judgment. If you start judging them, you're putting yourself on equal footing with God's law, which is a very prideful thing to do. When you start disobeying the law in your life, saying, hey, I don't need to listen to this, that's a prideful thing to do. And the reason James starts saying all this is because it's out of pride that we judge people. It's out of thinking that we're better than others that we gossip and cast judgment. All right, so we know we're not supposed to judge. We know that it comes from pride. Well, how do we rectify that? And that's the very last thing James says. He says, so what right do you have to judge your neighbor? And I can imagine if James was saying that to us, it'd be with a little bit of a sarcastic twinge, okay, what right do you have to judge your neighbor? There's really no right because you're not any better than them. You should have humility. You shouldn't have pride because pride leads to judgment. So the answer to how we don't judge people is to walk in humility. It's to not think of ourselves as better than other people, regardless of if it's true, regardless if you're smarter or do more. Put all that aside. We need to walk in humility because if we don't walk in humility, we will develop pride, which will lead to judging our brothers and sisters in the Lord and judging the world around us, which we are not to do. Only God can judge us. We must have humility. So a few questions that I want you guys to really be honest with yourself and really try and answer these in a true, authentic way. The first one is this. Do you hurt people's reputation? I'm not talking about calling someone a name. I'm not talking about speaking negatively in a very overt way. I'm talking about if you're talking to person A, is the way in which you're talking about person B affecting person A's view of them? Do you hurt people's reputation by the way in which you talk about them? Second question, do you think you're better than others? I mean, really, do you think that? Regardless of the answer, I don't care if you are. Is that something you go around thinking, I'm better than so-and-so? Which, man, I'm just gonna be real. This happens in the church world so much. For some reason, we're like, oh, I'm a better Christian. I obey more. Why are we thinking that? James is actually writing this to believers, talking about other believers. Like, we should not go around judging other people. That is not the way as Christians that we should live. And if you think you're better than other people, if that's something that goes through your head frequently, something you dwell on, that's going to cause you to judge. So be honest with yourself. Do you think you're better than other people? And lastly, this one is honestly quite difficult. I want you to strip away all the work that God's done in your life. Okay, all the sanctification, all the growth you've made as a follower of Jesus. Imagine taking that out of your life. And then imagine getting rid of all the societal norms and socially acceptable things and things that aren't socially acceptable that society is conditioned us with. Basically, right and wrong of what society says it is. Strip all that away. And imagine giving in to every single bad thought and impulse that you have. What kind of person would you be? What kind of person would you be if you take away the power of God in your life? And the image that we should be left with of who we are without Christ, without the work he's done in our life, that should humble us. And that's something that I'm not saying you should think about that in a every day and to the point that you think you're garbage, but you should keep in mind that any goodness in our life is by the grace of God. Strip away the work of Jesus and we are but wretched sinners. And that should humble us. And as you walk in humility, you're going to find that pride is kept at bay. And as you find that pride is kept at bay, you're going to realize that you don't judge people. And I don't know about you, but I think this world could go without a lot less judgment from other people.